I live in a small apartment complex with thin walls, which is fine, except for one weird thing. My neighbor is obsessed with the idea that I'm stealing their Wi-Fi. I first noticed it a few months ago, when I started finding these snarky little notes on my door. They'd say stuff like, "Please stop using my internet," or "You're welcome for the free Wi-Fi." I was like, what's going on? I pay for my own Wi-Fi, just like everyone else in the building. But this guy just wouldn't let up. He'd leave these notes, and sometimes even little reminders like a drawing of a Wi-Fi router with a big X through it. It was getting ridiculous. So I decided to try and talk to him about it. I went over to his apartment, and when he answered the door, I said, "Hey, can we chat about these notes you've been leaving me?" And he just smiled and said, "Oh, you mean the ones about you stealing my Wi-Fi?" I was taken aback. I told him, "Dude, I'm not stealing your Wi-Fi. I pay for my own." But he just laughed and said, "Sure you do." It was clear he didn't believe me. Things escalated quickly after that. He started putting up these crazy signs in the hallway, saying stuff like "Wi-Fi thief lives here," with an arrow pointing to my apartment. I was mortified. I didn't know what to do, so I decided to call the landlord. When the landlord came over, she was just as confused as I was. She told my neighbor that he needed to stop with the notes and the signs, and that if he didn't, she'd have to take further action. But here's the kicker: as we were all standing there, my neighbor's phone suddenly started ringing. And when he answered it, I heard him say, "Yes, I'd like to report a case of Wi-Fi theft." I was exposed to the absurdity of the situation, and I realized that this guy was beyond reason. The landlord just shook her head and said, "Sir, you can't report someone for using their own Wi-Fi." But he just kept arguing, saying that I was somehow hacking into his network. It was insane. Finally, the landlord had to threaten to evict him if he didn't stop harassing me. And you know what? It worked. The notes stopped, the signs came down, and I could finally relax in my own apartment without feeling like I was being watched. But the craziest part of the whole story is what happened a few weeks later. I was out in the hallway, and I saw my neighbor struggling to get his Wi-Fi to work. And I just couldn't resist. I walked over and said, "Hey, do you need some help with your internet?" He just looked at me, and for a second, I thought he was going to freak out again. But then, something unexpected happened. He just laughed and said, "You know what? Yeah, I think I do." And that was it. We started talking, and it turned out that he had no idea how to set up his Wi-Fi router. I helped him get it working, and from then on, we were actually pretty cool. It was a weird situation, but I guess you could say we connected in the end.